There is only one Mexico, the one I invented. That's what Emilio Fernandez, affectionately known as El Indio, used to say. And today, I want to tell you his story, how this man helped define Mexican cinema and in many ways shaped how the world sees Mexico itself. Almost everyone has a memory of a film that left an impression on them, an image, a moment, or a story that becomes part of who we are, often without even realizing it. For Mexicans, during the 20th century, cinema became more than just entertainment. It became a way for a nation to tell its own story. Back in the 1930s, Mexico started using film as a tool for national identity. The government invested in the industry, supporting stories that reflected Mexico's landscape, its indigenous roots, its revolutionary history, and its modernity. It was time when Mexican cinema began to find its voice, a voice fueled by a desire to represent the country's soul, its struggles, but most importantly, its dreams. At the heart of this movement was a man, Emilio El Indio Fernández. Born in 1904 in Coahuila, Fernández's life reads like a legend. His father was a revolutionary general and his mother was a kikapu. Fernández grew up amid the chaos of the Mexican Revolution, riding horses, carrying a gun, and living on the fringes of conflict, but also embodying resilience. He once said that his life was like one of his movies, rugged, passionate, and full of adventure. As a young man, Fernández had an unmistakable charisma. He was recommended for military training by a revolutionary figure super important in Mexico, but revealed that his real passion was elsewhere, although he confessed later in some interviews that he didn't want to compete with his father. After a stint in prison at 19, he set out for Chicago and California, where he mingled with Hollywood stars and learned the craft of filmmaking. His inspiration was Einstein's unfinished masterpiece, Que Viva Mexico, which moved him deeply and set him on the path to tell Mexico's story through cinema. But Fernández didn't just jump into making films right away. He had different jobs. He experimented, he practiced, and he used borrowed cameras. His early films like La Isla de la Pasión started revealing his style. Yet it was in 1943 with Maria Candelaria that Fernández's name truly became legendary. This film, set in Xochimilco, delved into themes of discrimination, indigenous culture, and social marginalization, topics Mexico was grappling with at the time. It was a masterpiece awarded at Cannes and helped elevate Mexican cinema onto the world stage. Fernández became a pivotal figure during what's called Mexico's Golden Age of film, roughly from 1936 to 1956. This was a period when Mexican movies didn't just entertain. They reflected the nation's hopes, conflicts, and contradictions. During World War II, while much of the world was embroiled in chaos, Mexico was rebuilding itself culturally. Hollywood's influence waned, but Mexican cinema thrived, supported by the government and international allies. Fernández's films borrowed Hollywood storytelling techniques, but they were deeply rooted in Mexican landscapes. Pueblos, mountains, the clouds, indigenous characters, and infused with the visual poetry thanks to the work of the cinematographer Gabriel Figueroa. Figueroa's mastery of light and shadow created iconic images like vast agave fields, stormy skies, and rock heroes that have become symbols of Mexico. These images weren't just beautiful, they were meaningful, capturing the pride and resilience of the Mexican people. And if you want to watch some of El Indio Fernández movies, here are 4 classics. First of all, Flor Silvestre. This is a poetic tale blending love, tradition, and the harsh beauty of rural life. Then there's Enamorada, where Maria Felix's fierce character challenges societal norms amidst revolutionary chaos. Also check out La Perla, because it's adapted from a Steinbeck novel and tells a heartbreaking story of hope and despair in a small town in Baja California. And this is actually the first Mexican film to win a Golden Globe. And finally, Río Escondido, which is a story about an old teacher fighting tyranny, but it also highlights resistance and social justice.
Poncionito, ¿qué te pasa? ¿Qué tienes?
These movies weren't just stories. stories. They were symbols of Mexican pride, resilience, and identity. El Indio Fernández and his actors like Pedro Armendáriz, María Félix, and Dolores del Rio became more than stars. They became icons of a modern Mexico. Of course, El Indio Fernández films also show contradictions. He romanticized indigenous culture, sometimes stereotyping, sometimes elevating it. But this, in any case, reflected Mexico's relationship with its indigenous roots and how complex it is. And these films reflected that tension. But even with these contradictions, his work offered a sense of identity in a young nation still defining itself. El Indio Fernández understood film's power as a vessel of Mexican identity. His images, themes, and stories continue to inspire generations of filmmakers, artists, and photographers. His vision helped shape the visual language of Mexico, one full of rugged landscapes, resilient faces, and a deep sense of pride. His films aren't just relics of the past. They are a mirror to Mexico's soul, capturing its hopes, struggles, and fierce independence. When you watch his movies, we're not just seeing stories. You're witnessing the heart of how the culture of a nation was created. Emilio El Indio Fernández famously said, "There is only one Mexico, the one I invented." And although this may seem as an exaggeration, it is true that his vision, his stories, are part of that Mexico. They tell us who we are and remind us that our culture lives on in our stories, our images, and our films. Thanks for exploring the story of El Indio Fernández with us today. And if you want to learn more about Mexican cinema or other stories that celebrate our culture and our heritage, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.